So I kind of completely agree with what Mr. Uppkar and Mr. Subrat said. So, the world is becoming more intelligent, more interconnected, and more instrumented today, right? And the way I look at it, automation is almost becoming the DNA of this entire cognitive journey that we all are in the course of taking today, right? So there is focus on quality, there is increased focus on productivity, and also there is increased focus on time to market advantage that every business decision maker is really looking at today, right? How can I improve the productivity? I'll give you a simple example of software engineering practices, maybe process automation, right? Since all of us are from software background, so you have a large monolithic legacy application made up of 5 million code, maybe built on some of the extinct technologies like natural database or PL1, and you want to move it to a newer environment, to a cloud-based environment. How do you do it? People who built it are no longer there. We all know documentations are not there in place or not in sync with the source code. Without automation, how do you extract the requirements? How do you extract the design practices and patterns and principles that's there in the source code that you can modify to build the architecture in the newer environment before you forward engineer the code to the target environment? Completely impossible unless otherwise you think about automation to migrate those monolithic legacy applications to target cloud. And that's why we hear pretty often that most of the legacy modernization projects are failures, right? Predominant reason is that right kind of automation practices are not being followed. Simple example again, like testing, right? Do you really need to put hundreds of testers to do repetitive manual testing in your organization? Why can't we leverage an automated robot to do that testing and completely replace the overall manual testing that we do, starting from generation of unit test cases, test data to actually performing the testing, right? So those are the practices that's evolving today that can automate your entire software engineering process. And we all know as one of the trend today, low code, no code is getting so much significance and so much acceptance predominantly because of the automation, right? Coming back to different use cases across different industries, I think Mr. Uppkar again talked about what's happening in the financial industry, right? Today, let's say a bank who is struggling for anti-money laundering or some of the financial frauds, how do they manage it without right automation being in place, right? Maybe they have to do some adaptive behavioral analysis utilizing some of the artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques that built on the cognitive automation capabilities, right? So those are the places probably industries are also finding a lot of automation capabilities, whether it's a static automation capability, whether it's a dynamic automation capability or cognitive automation capability. I think today, as I said, that's the center stage, that's the foundation. Any business who is not leveraging automation and not really doing that co-creation, collaboration, and coexistence is not going to be very successful. I think both the questions are kind of related. I'll still go to the automation question first and then come back here, right? I think Dr. Meher talked about a very important point, right? Process automation and healthcare. And I'll share a story, which is my own experience. And that's again, leveraging the new technology. That's second part of your question, right? So I was consulting a hospital in a very remote part of Odisha, basically, right? And the job that I was trying to do was to build a patient management system. Typically, patient management systems are very simple: select, insert, update, delete, you could say. Just capture the patient data and register the patient instead of doing the old way of writing on the notebook, right? So we use best of the architecture, best of the technologies, MongoDB, Node.js, Express scripts, right, to build the best of the best user interface. And is there any of you think that is there a possibility of this patient management system going wrong anywhere? Capturing the data, capturing the patient data, and you have used best architecture practices and best technology to build it, right? Now the time has come for the rubber to hit the road. The feedback that we got from the ground, from the hospital, neither the hospital staffs are happy, nor the patients are happy. What could have gone wrong in this case, basically, right? And we are worried, basically. We were not able to figure out what has gone wrong. But remember, this patient management system was built in a boardroom in some other city, not on the ground reality, on the Orissa in that particular hospital, right? Then we thought we'll go and visit that hospital and let's check what's happening there. When we reached there in the hospital, before reaching the hospital premises, the first thing we saw that there are patients standing in the queue near the window to get registered. And there is the hospital staff who is registering the patient, is holding a handycam like this on one hand and other hand entering the data. So we did all the automation, we use best technology, but did the life of the hospital staff change or it has become worse? Definitely all of you will agree that it has become worse, because 8 hours he's keeping his hand like this to take the photograph. And what about the patients? In a normal situation, they could have come and sit inside the hospital. Now they're standing on the queue near the window. There is scorching sunlight outside. Their life has gone for bad, right? And in the same time, if they're just scorching sunlight behind the back, all the photographs this guy is taking all the effort, all of those photographs are going to be black, right? All the patients are going to look same, right? Automation, great thing, but if it is not connected to the ground reality, if it is not connected, technology is great thing, but it is not connected to the field reality, is not connected to the users, it's not going to bring a lot of value, right? So there is pervasive automation all around us today, and more so after the pandemic, things have really accelerated. But the very basic is that should be connected to the ground realities, to the users, the need, the feel, and the thinking of the users. Otherwise, it's not going to be very useful. The second part of your question, Dr. Deepak, is about how the new technology is trying to help and solve the service quality, basically, right? I'll give you some example. And today we know in this cognitive transformation journey, culture of agile innovation, exponential platforms, next-gen technologies, all the technologies that we are talking about, AI, ML, blockchain, IoT, hyper computing, or quantum computing, the high performance computing or quantum computing that we are talking about, all those are actually driving a lot of service quality and business results. No brainer. All of us know about that and all of us will agree to that. And just to give you some example how it's really helping, let's think about blockchain, right? I was associated with a program where, farming. So avocados, I can give the example of avocados. Avocados gets probably harvested more in African countries, let's say Mombasa, right? And the consumers of avocados are in Europe or North America, right? Maybe at Rotterdam, right? So and avocado, all of us know, is a perishable product. When you are transferring avocados from Mombasa in South Africa, in Africa, to Rotterdam in Europe, how do you really manage this? It goes through a lot of handshakes, basically, right? Starting from the farmers to the brokers, then loading into the ships, right? And then translating those to another point, and then again getting those there in Rotterdam, basically, right? So many handshakes makes things completely unusable and very difficult to manage these perishable products. Can we use blockchain techniques and make those hundreds of handshakes that's happening in this transportation process, maybe 5 handshakes to make things reach faster at Rotterdam, right? That's the value of blockchain that you can apply to the business. Or let's talk about, again, since I'm talking Rotterdam, probably I'll talk about another example of Rotterdam. Large amount of, it's a busiest airport in, busiest port in the world, actually, right? Rotterdam, right? And ships take hours and hours to really come to the port and do their activities, right? Is there a mechanism by which I can predict and time out those reaching of ships to the airport, utilizing some of the artificial intelligence, machine learning techniques through the real-time data that I collect on the ships reaching the port, basically, right? Again, another use of service that can bring a lot of value to mankind, right? In the same time, smallest things, right? If you today go to Pune airport, Pune railway station, since I live in Pune, right? Today you'll find Mr. Arjun there, who is cleaning the airport, the robot, right? And cleaning the airport, also having a surveillance system to figure out if there are any suspicious activities happening on the railway station, right? And in the same time, giving a lot of knowledge about people, what they should do about COVID warnings, the symptoms, what they should take care of. Those are basically the use of newest technologies in all pervasive parts of life, and that's improving the quality of service and quality of life as well, right? A few days back, I was traveling to a remote corner of Maharashtra, and I saw one of the cab driver, he's using a cell phone and asking the cell phone to find out the path to drop me somewhere, basically. I said that, why you are doing that? And he said, sir, I don't know how to type, and this is a new place, but I know using my voice, I can ask and I can see what's happening and what is the route, basically. So this is the way it has really ingrained into everybody's life, all these exponential technologies, to create differentiated value and make impact on all of us, our life, to the business, to the people, to the society as well. So I think the new business paradigm is all about the confluence of data, device, and delivery. I'll give you a very simple example, maybe again, of the place where I'm consulting actually, right? So if you know Maharashtra oil, there is a place called Konkan Coast where there are a lot of rainfalls that come in Maharashtra, but in the same time, because of the lateritic nature of the soil, the water was actually not hold, water percolates down and go to the seas and rivers basically, right? So huge rainfall, but then there is no water for farming and other things, right? So how do you really make difference to life of these farmers in the Konkan coast basically, right? Typically in terms of doing the precision farming and helping them to get crops the way they need it so that they have their livelihood, right? So I think Upkarji talked about geospatial analysis, right? Today you have all of the satellite data available, right? Through either Landsat 1B or some of the other satellites who scans the world all the time and takes the satellite images, right? Can we collect the data from those satellites? And maybe there are institutions like National Remote Sensing Agency in Hyderabad or IRS in Dehradun. You get those satellite imagery data and process those, right? And keep it aside. In the same time, can we really get the weather data through certain IoT sensors that we could put on the farmers' lands to collect not only the weather specific information, also the soil specific information, right? And then can we model those maybe using a geographic information system techniques with the satellite data, with the weather data, with the farming data, with the rainfall data, and all together predict that this is the crop pattern, this is the land, this is the crop that is going to come. And by the way, these are the 2-3 crops that we could do in a year so that you earn more and you live a better life basically, right? So those are the use of data being collected from devices, whether it's a satellite imagery or whether it's an IoT sensor device, and then making that confluence conglomerated together to drive real delivery, real value for the people who needs it basically. That's basically a societal cause. And today, probably, I think all over India and across the globe, precision farming is becoming very accurate, which is the best example of data device and delivery. And of course, there are so many other use cases. Probably I can talk about, maybe because of lack of time, I will not be able to cover all of those use cases. Today, let's say, for example, Bell flights, right? How do they do preventive maintenance of their entire fleet of flights, basically, right? Again, use of data, use of devices to do the flight management on click of a button, basically, right? To find out how the flight is, what is the fuel level, what is there any issues on the flight? All those things can be managed leveraging again data, the data that we collect using various devices, various other structured data that we collect, and then analyzing those to get the right outcomes. And there are so many, almost this is the use case you could apply to any of the industries or any of the domains, so to say. Yeah.